The girl I loved most was my homeroom teacher. But during morning exercises, she found my love letter. To punish me, she called in my parents. She made my mother read it aloud before the whole class. I was frantic, because the girl I loved was my teacher. I desperately wanted to stop it, but my dad stood beside me. Humiliated, he pressed hard on my shoulder. My mother stood at the front of the classroom, trembling all over with embarrassment. My teacher said coldly, "Your senior year is the most important time of your lives, but some students have no focus on their studies at all. Who knows what they are thinking about?" She picked up my love letter and continued, "I found this in your desk during morning exercises. Now, your mother will read it aloud with feeling." "Dear who? Who is your dear?" She handed the letter to my mother. My mother took it helplessly and whispered, "Ma'am, children have dignity too. Can't we handle this privately?" My teacher refused. "Dating is the one thing our school will not tolerate. If I do not make an example of him today, how am I supposed to manage this class afterward?" My mother tried to plead for me. "My son only wrote a love letter. He never gave it to anyone. He planned to wait until after graduation to give it to her." My teacher sneered. "It is wrong that he even had such thoughts. If his parents refuse today, then take him home to reflect for a week." My mother fell silent at once. My father could not hold back anymore. "Ma'am, then we will read it. He is in his senior year. If he stays home for a week, he will fall far behind in class." My teacher nodded. "Fine, read it loudly. Make sure every student hears it clearly. Who is his dear, and who calls him dear?" My mother had no choice but to open the letter and begin reading. "I still remember how gentle you once were. Your hair fell over your shoulders in the sunset, carrying a faint scent of lavender. I do not know why you now wear glasses and tie your hair in a ponytail, looking cold and distant all day." The whole class stared at me in shock. My teacher adjusted her glasses and flicked her ponytail. She sneered. "It seems the girl you like has some self-awareness after all. She knows senior year is the most important time, so she knows to hide her beauty and focus on what truly matters. But you? Your mind is full of disgusting thoughts." I gazed at my teacher, utterly entranced. I still remembered how beautiful she had been. Her hair had fallen loose beneath the sunset, carrying a faint lavender scent. She had gently kissed my forehead. Her lips had carried a sweet fragrance too. It was the scent of lychee lip balm. That day, my lips were cracked and dry. She took out her own lip balm, cupped my face, and gently applied it to my lips. My mother had reached that part. Embarrassed, she read, "What I cannot forget most is when you helped me apply lip balm. I was so shy, yet stubborn in that childish, boyish way. I pretended to be disgusted and said you had already used it. But you said my lips were cracked and bleeding. I shyly closed my eyes, and you laughed softly as you gently applied it." My teacher slammed her palm hard on the desk. She said coldly, "I take back what I said. Apparently, this female student lacks self-awareness too. She is utterly shameless. All of you, listen carefully. If I catch any boy in this class sharing lip balm with a girl, I will call both sets of parents immediately." With that, she nodded for my mother to keep reading. My mother said quietly, "Even after all these years, I cannot forget it. To you, I was only a passing stranger in your life. But to me, you changed my entire life. I heard you were an excellent student. You were sure to get into a top university. But I was different. Everyone said I only skipped class and got terrible grades. They said I would never amount to anything. You were like a refined young lady from ancient times, while I was only a lowly, poor farmer." My teacher could not help laughing at that. She said, "Here comes the classic teenage boy sob story. Girls, listen carefully to what comes next. Boys love saying these nauseatingly sentimental lines. They put themselves down and place girls on pedestals. Then they play the victim, hoping to win a girl's sympathy." Every girl in class nodded seriously. They listened with rapt attention. My mother trembled with anger, but she had no choice but to keep reading. "To follow in your footsteps, I stopped skipping class. At tea each morning, I got up to cook for Mom and brew her medicine." Something about that did not sound right to my teacher. She interrupted my mother and asked, "Wait, what do you mean, cooking and brewing medicine?" Wiping her tears, my mother whispered, "Ma'am, when he was little, I got sick. I was bedridden for a year. His father had to earn money for the family, so he had to skip class every day to come home early and cook and brew medicine for me. That was why his grades were so poor. Later, he suddenly decided to study seriously. He got up early every day to do chores. He did it all to take care of me." My teacher gave an awkward little "oh," Nervously tugging at her bangs, she said, "Keep reading." Who knew he was such a devoted romantic? "You have liked her since childhood, have you?" My mother continued reading. "Loving you is hard, because you have gone so far and risen so high. To see you again, I studied twice as hard. I followed your path and tried to get into a top provincial high school, but..." My teacher immediately cut her off. She said, "Our school is not a top provincial high school. Clearly, your head was so full of romance that you failed to get into one. Class, this is a harsh lesson. The girl he liked got into a top provincial high school, while he missed out on the girl he loved. What does that tell us? If you do not study hard, you will even miss your chance at love." My mother said quietly, "Ma'am, my son's next line says, 'I did not get in, but I met you here instead.'" My teacher's expression instantly turned sour. She said, "It seems that girl was not focused on studying either. Keep reading." I looked at my teacher's slightly embarrassed expression. I knew she had gotten him back then. I had thought I would never be able to follow in her footsteps, but I never expected that when I came here, she would become my homeroom teacher. Fate had arranged for us to meet again. My mother kept reading. "When you saw me, you only smiled and nodded. I do not think you remembered the little boy who sat on the ground crying all those years ago." In an instant, my teacher let out an exaggerated cry. "Oh, a crying little boy. That is so embarrassing. I have goosebumps all over. This melodramatic writing is killing me. Why do you cry so much?" The girls in class nodded in agreement. Some girls even started scratching their arms, as if they really had goosebumps. My teacher sneered at me. "Are you so embarrassed now that you want to cry? You crying little boy." I watched her pull those silly faces, and all I could think was how adorable she was. Oh no, why was her every gesture so full of girlish charm? If my humiliation could bring her a little joy amid her busy work, then I would gladly endure it. My mother continued reading. That day, my mother was having surgery. The doctor said there was a 50% chance she would never wake up. I was terrified that I would lose my mother. I cried in utter helplessness. My teacher hurriedly interrupted my mother. "Wait." She stared intensely into my eyes. "You cried because of that?" I nodded. My teacher turned and gave my mother a sincere bow. "I sincerely apologize. I did not know he cried because of that. I sincerely want to say I am sorry." The girls who had laughed along earlier were each too embarrassed to know what to do, and lowered their heads. My mother wiped away her tears too, then continued reading the letter. "When I was little, I was not sure what these feelings meant. When you kissed my forehead, I thought it was only a beautiful memory that stayed in my heart. But when I saw you again, my heart pounded wildly. Everything around me seemed to fall silent, except for my heartbeat. Your smile played in slow motion, etched into my mind. I realized that I truly loved you. From the day I met you, I knew I loved you deeply. I am glad I missed the top provincial high school by 10 points, because it let me meet you sooner." My teacher said coldly, "You should be ashamed of doing so poorly. Not glad about it." Wait. Only then did my teacher realize something was off. She asked my mother, was he only 10 points short of getting into a top provincial high school? My father spoke up. "Ma'am, this was my fault. He lost those 10 points on his physical education exam. Just as my son wrote, we are farmers, and I am only a bricklayer. That day, I went out to repair someone's roof, and fell off it. The day before my son's high school entrance PE exam, he had to carry me on his back to see a doctor." My teacher asked, "You could buy those 10 points, right?" My father sighed. 10 points cost tens of thousands of yuan. We are poor. My son could not bear to spend it." My teacher fell silent. With her hands behind her back, she paced by the podium, as if debating whether to let my mother keep reading. The whole class watched her awkwardly. At last, my teacher said, "This boy does have good character. So, since you have good character, and the chance to take the college entrance exam, why choose a teenage romance and ruin your future?" My mother hurriedly said, "My son is already 18. He repeated a year of school to care for me." My teacher said firmly, "Even if he is 18, he is still in school. Keep reading." My mother had no choice but to continue. "These past few years have been the happiest days of my life. Every day in class, I hoped you would look at me more." My teacher said seriously, "In class, you should be looking at your teacher. At the blackboard, your eyes should be on me." I nodded. My eyes had always been on her. My mother read on. "I once wanted to confess my feelings to you, but I could never make up my mind. Until the day you came to my home and sat on my bed. You wore beautiful designer clothes. So out of place in my shabby home. That sight stabbed deep into my heart. My teacher flew into a rage. She raised a book and hurled it at me. That girl even went to your house? And she sat on your bed. I did not dodge. I looked her straight in the eye. That day, she had come for a home visit. I remember wanting to pour her a cup of tea. But we did not even own a nice glass. I could only open a National Day gift my mother's factory had given her, and make her a cup of Ethiopia milk tea. My family never had the heart to open gifts, because we could pass them on to other relatives. It was very cold that day. My parents only put a heater in my room. My teacher sat on my bed, cradling the milk tea. She took a sip through the straw, then looked up with a sweet smile. She told me, "Oh, it is so warm in here." I sat beside her. For the first time in years, I was alone with her. Everyone else dreaded home visits, but I alone had looked forward to that day. I wished time would slow down. I could not bear to see her leave, yet I did not want her to see too much of my poverty. By then, my mother was weeping uncontrollably as she read my letter. The moment you sat in my home, I wanted so badly to tell you that I had been searching for you for so many years. Like the wind, I have traveled 10,000 miles for you, day after day, year after year. That little boy who once collected cardboard boxes to help support his family had earnestly fallen for a girl far beyond his reach. I once burned with ambition, believing I could make something of myself. But when you wore a Chanel scarf, dressed like a beautiful doll, sitting in my rundown home, I finally understood that you were a painting that could never exist in my life. Holding the letter, my mother sank weakly to the floor. Wiping her tears, she wailed at me. "Why would you write that? You are wonderful. We are the ones who have held you back. Your father and I are the failures. You have always been such a good boy." My teacher panicked. She hurried to help my mother up, saying anxiously, "Ma'am, please do not do this." My mother's voice was hoarse from crying. How is my son not good enough for her? Since he was little, he helped with the housework and cared for me and my sickbed. Every day, I gave him 5 yuan for breakfast and bus fare. But every morning, he would clutch a steamed bun and his English book and walk to school at 5 in the morning. My son is the best child in the world. It has always been us who were no good. Why would he write this? How is he not good enough for anyone? My father lowered his head without saying a word. The letter lay scattered across the floor. My teacher held on to my mother, at a complete loss. She said softly, "I never thought it would turn out like this. No more reading. None of us will read anymore." She pulled out tissues and wiped my mother's tears. Then she spoke to everyone, somewhat anxiously. "Class, this has gotten off track. But let me make this clear. Never look down on someone for being poor while they are young. You are in the prime of your youth. Never think less of yourselves." One student could not help saying, "I have been to his house. His family really does look poor. If that girl wears Chanel, then his family is not a match for hers. Their parents are in completely different leagues." My teacher quickly said, "For the first 30 years of life, a son's standing rest on his father. After 30, a father's standing rest on his son. This letter is wrong. You have not even begun to realize your own worth. Life holds endless possibilities. Do not measure your worth against someone else's parents." I stood and walked toward the podium. I picked up the letter and looked at her panicked face. Overcome with emotion, my mother accidentally pulled off the teacher's hair tie. As her long hair spilled loose, the evening sunlight fell across her face. She had been just as beautiful that day, all those years ago. The adults thought I did not understand and sent me to play in the park. But I understood everything. In the biting wind, I sat crying in the park outside the hospital. She came up to me. Back then, she was not nearly as stern as she is now. She was dressed so youthfully. A shoulder bag slung over one shoulder, chewing gum. When I looked up, she blew a bubble, then offered me a piece of gum. She said, "Why are you crying, little one?" I was little then. Pointing at the hospital, I cried, "Mom is going to leave me." She immediately understood what I meant. She stroked my head and said, "You are imagining things. With such an adorable son, who could bear to leave?" But I kept crying. She crouched down and pulled me into her arms. When people are sad, they always long for a warm embrace. I did not dare cry in front of the adults. I knew that because of my mother's illness. My father was running everywhere, barely holding himself together every day. That day, I sobbed my heart out in a stranger's arms. She did not say a single word to comfort me. She only gently patted my back, just as my mother had when I was little. I remember the sunset falling over her. I remember her faint scent of lavender. I remember the warmth of her embrace. I remember the scent of her lip balm. And I will always remember how, when I had cried enough, she kissed my forehead. She told me that when a boy cannot hold it in, he should have a good cry. Afterward, he is still a man. I picked up the letter and looked straight into her eyes. She asked in alarm, "What are you doing?" I said, "I wrote it for the woman I love. I will finish reading it myself." She said urgently, "Do not read it. I know you have good character. This ends here today. As long as you do not give this letter to her before graduation, I will not hold this against you." I gave a bitter smile. If I do not read it now, I never will. Now that I cannot hide it, why keep trying? I might as well face my heart honestly. Before the whole class, I continued reading the letter. By the time you read this letter, I will already be gone. My bag's on my back. Please allow me to selfishly say goodbye to you. I am sorry I could not spend the final 6 months with you. My teacher cut me off. She said excitedly, "What do you mean? What do you mean gone? Are you not coming back next semester?" I did not answer her. Instead, I kept reading. "I am sorry, but I cannot enter a university. I long to experience youth like everyone else, but I cannot afford to spend for precious years." My teacher frowned and said, "Do not say that. Who says university waste your youth? If you work hard and get into the same university as that girl, could you not spend for years together?" I continued softly, "Especially when, for years from now, you will be 28. Those men pursuing you will probably have become pillars of society, while I will only be a young man just starting out." The classroom fell completely silent. Everyone stared at me blankly. My teacher's eyes widened too. She asked me in disbelief, "The girl you mean is 24 this year. She is 6 years older than you." When I nodded, my teacher was stunned. "Is she not a student?" I said, "She is you. The one I have loved so deeply has always been you." My teacher was utterly disoriented. She nearly fell, quickly grabbing the desk behind her. Breathing hard, she stared at me blankly. I set down the letter and smiled. 2 years ago, you happily told us that this was your first time as a homeroom teacher. You promised to lead our class well, with everything you had. 10 years ago, I'd happily told myself that it was the first time someone had held me, letting me feel a warmth I would never forget. You may not remember the kindness you gave so freely back then, but I am that foolish boy who loved you so deeply. Fate brought us together and showed me the distance between us. I had planned to finish this semester, cherishing each day as though it were our last together. But now that it has come to this, I might as well give it a complete ending. My teacher swallowed hard and stared at me blankly. I helped my mother up, then bowed deeply to my teacher. "I will not cause you any trouble. The education authorities will not question you, because the moment you found my letter, I had already submitted my withdrawal application to the principal's office." I smiled and said softly, "I love you until the day I die." The windows were still open. A breeze drifted into the classroom, stirring the pages. It also stirred her hair. In a panic, she raised a hand to smooth her hair. At a loss, she took the letter from my hand. Every student stared at us in shock. At that moment, no one uttered a word. As she flipped through the letter, she said blankly, "Impossible. You are lying to me. You are just messing with me. It is impossible." She leafed through my letter, but when she saw that her name was truly written there, her cheeks finally flushed bright red. Whenever someone confessed their feelings before, the class loved to tease them. But today, no one made a sound. I took my mother's hand and headed out. My teacher panicked. She rushed over and grabbed my hand. We were already in the hallway. The moment we were out of the classroom, an explosive wave of chatter finally erupted inside. Windows flew open one after another. Many students could not resist leaning their heads out. I turned back to look at her. Head lowered, she gripped my hand tightly. Still, no one dared tease us. But some had already secretly broken school rules, taking out their phones to photograph us. I said softly, "Let go. People will misunderstand otherwise." My teacher quickly released me. She stood there, her face burning red. She pleaded, "Can we talk?" I asked her, "Do you remember me now? The park outside the hospital 10 years ago." She looked at my face, then finally whispered, "I remember, but I never thought you would remember all this time." More and more people gathered in the hallway to watch, perhaps afraid of all those eyes. My teacher asked me, "Could we find somewhere private and talk this through?" I shook my head. No. I knew that with so many people watching, only then was she safe. If we talked in private, rumors would spread everywhere. The education authorities would make sure she could not keep her job. I longed to be alone with her, but I knew I could not ruin her life. Her voice was already trembling with tears. Under all those watching eyes, she finally shed her usual stern facade and became that helpless, flustered girl again. She asked, "Have you really been looking for me all this time?" I gave a quiet hum of agreement. She stubbornly raised her head and asked, "So you are really dropping out? You keep saying you want to make something of yourself, but you will not even go to college. How can you justify throwing away these 10 years?" I answered, "Striving is not limited to school. We spend our whole lives striving. If I devote my life to a career I love, that proves I am working hard too, does it not?" Unable to refute me, she said anxiously, "Please finish school, all right? I can pretend none of this ever happened. Just keep being a good student and take your college entrance exam." I said, "But I love you." She froze. She asked blankly, "What does taking the college entrance exam have to do with loving me?" I said, "By the time I graduate, those outstanding men around you will be old enough to become corporate executives. Do you know, a 28-year-old man might walk into an Audi dealership with his keys and have his car serviced, while I, following the usual path through college, would be holding a contract, kneeling beside him on one knee, an intern explaining his service options." She could not help saying, "You are crazy. Why are you competing for dignity with a group of older men?" I said, "I have been crazy since the day I fell in love with you." Her voice choked with tears as she said, "But I thought you would ask me to wait for you for years, or something like that." I asked, confused, "I love you. Why would I selfishly ask you to wait for me? Why waste the best years of your life? Besides, even if you agreed, it might only be a way to stall me. Would it not?" She grew anxious. She grabbed my arm and said emotionally, "Isn't that selfish too? If you did not love me, you could go to college properly. You use loving me as an excuse, saying you are afraid you cannot wait. You are throwing away for crucial years and condemning me to a lifetime of guilt. Isn't that selfish?" In her distress, she actually raised her hand. She wanted to slap me, but in the end, the slap never came down. Tears streaming down her face, she cried, "Why are you rushing through your life? If you fail someday, the biggest reason for your failure will be me." I said nothing. She wiped away her tears and cried, "You gave me a love letter. Do you not want an answer? I can answer you right now. All right, as long as you finish high school, I will be your girlfriend." She had not even finished speaking, because I wrapped my arms around her. She froze. I held her tight, just like I had 10 years ago. The same warmth, the same scent of lavender, but I was no longer that little boy. I whispered in her ear, "No need. Your rejection would break my heart. Your agreement would make me anxious. I know what a relationship between teacher and student means. Even if I came for you after graduation, it could still cost you your future. If you are willing, I want to make a promise with you." Held in my arms, she had somehow forgotten to push me away. I could feel how fast her heart was beating. She stammered, "What promise?" 2 years from now, I will come find you." Through tears, she said, "Only 2 years. What kind of future can you possibly build?" I smiled. "If I fail to make something of myself, then it only means I have not given my all for you yet." I let her go. For the last time, I took in her adorable expression. Then I turned and walked away, leaving her with only one sentence. 2 years from now, I will come find you." The homeroom teacher's perspective. I stood there foolishly, watching my student leave. My heart hurt so much. I clutched my chest, the pain making it hard to breathe. He thought I had forgotten, but I had always remembered that crying little boy. 10 years ago, when I was still in school, someone told me that someone had been secretly asking about me. I found it rather baffling, because anyone who has been to school knows this. When a stranger starts asking about you at school, there are only two possibilities. Either some weirdo wants to pursue you, or someone plans to beat you up after school. I told my best friend, and she was furious too. We worked up the courage to see who had been asking about me. In the end, we found a little boy. Timidly, he stopped a male student and said, "Excuse me, can I ask you something?" We both burst out laughing. I told my best friend what had happened. She sighed emotionally. "Poor thing. He is still so young." I rolled my eyes helplessly. Maybe the kid just wanted to thank me. But after that, things started to feel strange. It was all because my best friend was curious. While the little boy investigated me, she began investigating him too. As luck would have it, my best friend's younger sister attended the same school as him. At last, she eagerly filled me in. on what was really going on with the boy. I had known for a long time that he had been caring for his seriously ill mother. Every day, he skipped class to go home, cook meals, and brew her medicine. I also knew he had asked about my grades, and that from then on, he never skipped class again. I did not think much of any of it. Who takes a child seriously? But my best friend loved following this gossip. She would always excitedly tell me, "The kid has climbed hundreds of places in the rankings. He placed in the top 10 in the whole school. He says he will get into the high school you attended." But I never found it annoying, because I like seeing someone work hard to better themselves. At first, I treated it as mere gossip, even though I was the woman at the center of it, until I returned home to teach, until he walked into my classroom. The first time I saw him, I wanted to tell him, "I remember you," but I did not dare, because there was something different in the way he looked at me. It was sincere and passionate, with an indescribable feeling beneath it. When my best friend learned about it, she excitedly kept slapping my shoulder. She hit so hard, she nearly broke a bone. I told her not to get any wild ideas. It was impossible. But biting her milk tea straw, she said excitedly, "Girl, you have got to be kidding me. Are you seriously not going after such a great guy?" Helplessly, I said, "It is impossible. I am his teacher." My best friend muttered, "Then quit. Your family forced you into this conventional life anyway. You never wanted to be a teacher." I did not know how to explain it. I admired him, but I did not have those feelings for him. I thought a boy as driven as he was would earn any girl's admiration. Then, during a classroom inspection, I found his love letter. When I saw his decision to drop out, I panicked. I went to discuss it with my best friend. She was shocked when she heard. Stunned, she said to me, "You have really made a mess of things." I was on the verge of a breakdown. I had no patience for her jokes, thinking that this admirable boy would give up his education because of me. I felt truly guilty. In the end, I made a bold decision. I would make him hate me. I asked my best friend to help me think of a way, but she just kept shaking her head. She said, "You may be underestimating his determination." I gritted my teeth. No matter how determined he was, I would nip it in the bud. I confiscated the love letter and deliberately summoned his parent. I made his parent read it aloud to the class. All the while, I kept making cutting remarks. I had it all planned out. Once enough had been read, I would take the letter away and tear it up. There was no need to read it all. Boys that age care deeply about their pride. Who could endure such humiliation? I would become the person he hated most. So he would give up on me and focus on finishing college. But to my surprise, he did not back down. He even stepped onto the podium and began reading the love letter himself. No matter how many people pointed fingers behind his back, he solemnly read the entire letter. I stood there, at a complete loss. I was someone who followed the rules, but he was not. I never expected it, but just as my best friend had said, I had underestimated his resolve to make him take the college entrance exam. I even considered using a stalling tactic. I would pretend to become his girlfriend, then go back on my word after his entrance exams. But he rejected me. I watched his retreating figure, and for some reason, my heart suddenly ached. Did he not say he loved me? I had even agreed to be his girlfriend, even if it was only a stalling tactic. Could he not get into college for my sake? He was gone. He had suddenly burst into my life, then suddenly left it. I did not want to cry in front of so many people. Holding back my grief, I asked my best friend to pick me up after work. This time, she was not there for gossip. After hearing me out, she said seriously, "Were you going to deceive him? Wait until he finished his entrance exams, then reject his feelings." I said nothing. I could not make sense of it. My best friend continued, "What is so strange about an older woman dating a younger man? He was only a little boy when this began. You are the one who made it complicated. Your parents only forced you to teach 3 or 4 years ago. But he has been looking for you for 10 years, has he not?" I said. For one moment, I wanted to quit. My best friend asked, "Which moment?" I said, "When he turned and walked away." My best friend said, "I looked into him for you. Maybe this will make you feel better. Maybe he is not worth holding on to. He has gone to apprentice at a barber shop." I frowned slightly. My best friend scoffed. He talked a big game about 2 years, only to end up learning to cut hair. Even if he is exceptionally gifted, it will take at least 5 years to become top tier. But something about it did not feel right. A man who could persist for 10 years. I could not believe he would make such a rash decision. Sure enough, the Education Bureau called me in for a talk. They told me to mind the public impact and maintain proper boundaries with students. They did not know this ill-fated connection had begun years ago. 3 months later, my best friend contacted me again. The moment she saw me, she said mysteriously, "Something is not right." I asked what was wrong. She said her sister told her he was not cutting people's hair. He was grooming cats and dogs. He charged 128 yuan per session. I remember kittens are your favorite, but you never dared get one because your parents would be angry. Startled, I said in disbelief, "I do love kittens, but my own haircut only costs 35 yuan. You are saying cat and dog grooming cost 128 yuan. My best friend was speechless. That is not the point. The point is which shop he works at. He works at the shop by day and runs a stall by the river at night. On his days off, he even makes house calls. He also started a social media account. I think he is building followers so he can open his own shop." Stunned, I asked, "Does he not need rest?" My best friend shrugged. "I do not know. Let us wait and see. With that workload, I doubt he will last 6 months." Out of sheer curiosity, I searched for his account. His page was full of videos of him. Wearing a mask, he focused intently on grooming a little dog. His words were gentle, and his movements light. There were several scars on his hands from pets scratching him. For some reason, he looked kind of handsome. I shook my head hard, telling myself not to overthink it. A year later, my best friend excitedly told me again. We underestimated him. He has opened his own shop now. I was not surprised. With the way he worked himself to the bone, he probably ate and slept at the shop. Saving enough to open a small shop in a year would not be difficult for him. I was clearly not surprised. Yet I still could not stop myself from checking his account. Sure enough, it was a small shop that mainly took appointments. Since it was newly open, the rates were very affordable. Lots of people were booking, and the entire month was fully booked. I wondered, does he not take days off? Will he not wear himself out? He seemed so busy that he posted a video looking for an assistant. Many girls who loved pets applied, but he politely pinned a reply saying, "I would prefer a male assistant." My best friend asked me seriously, "Are you really going to keep that promise?" I asked, "What promise?" My best friend said sadly, "Are you really going to make him wait the full 2 years? You never wanted this job in the first place. He has pursued you for 11 years. If you felt something for him back then this is when he needs help the most. For you, he has been paying the price for his own impulsiveness. Why can you not be reckless just once?" I said, "But my parents arranged a blind date for me today. He is quite a catch. I was thinking that marrying someone my own age and following the usual path might be better." My best friend was furious. "Girl, have you lost your mind?" I stared at her message, not knowing how to reply. Easy for her to say, "Be reckless just once." But if I did, I would spend the rest of my life in a storm of gossip. I still decided to go on the blind date. He really was quite a catch. I put on beautiful makeup. Considering my date's income, I chose an outfit with a subtle allure. 70% sweet, 30% seductive. The kind of look that was innocent yet alluring. Once I finished my makeup, my best friend saw I still had not replied. She could not help sending me a voice message to scold me. "Can you be brave just once? Do the work you truly love. Face the person who truly loves you." I ignored her and rushed out. How was I supposed to be reckless? My blind date earned 500,000 yuan a year. His shop was still offering half-price grand opening specials. Who knew how long it would stay popular? My blind date's parents both had secure government jobs, while he had to work 14 hours every day just to open a shop of his own. The gap between them was far too great. If I followed the expected path, I could have a good life. I would have an accomplished husband, and both our families would be well off. My own job would be respectable too. But for some reason, I drove my little Wuling Hongguang, but headed for the pet grooming shop. My blind date sent me a message, asking where we should meet that night. I sent him a message, sorry. I parked on the street outside the grooming shop. Night fell as I watched him work inside. From 6 to 8, from 8 to 10. It was not until midnight that the last customer left. He sat warily in a chair, rubbing his shoulders. He no longer looked as boyish as before. He styled his hair with wax, wore French-style workwear, and had a mask on. To my surprise, my heart began to race. I did not know why I had sat in that car for so long. I had always played by the rules. I had never done anything so impulsive. Maybe I should leave. Maybe he had regretted it long ago. Then he suddenly took off his mask. He took a lychee-flavored lip balm from his pocket. I looked at its familiar packaging and brand. For some reason, I got out of the car in a daze. I pushed open the door, and the bell chimed. He quickly turned around. "Welcome." Then he froze. staring at me blankly. The lip balm in his hand rested against the corner of his mouth. For 11 years, he had been the one taking each step toward me. I could have stayed right where I was and let him do all the work. I could have waited until his 12th year, then judged his financial prospects. That was clearly the best option for me. But my best friend's words kept echoing in my mind. This is the year he needs help most. Awkwardly, I stared at the cat fur on the floor. Unable to meet his eyes, I said softly, "I do not think I like being a teacher very much. I saw you were hiring, so I came to ask about the pay." He put away the lip balm, stood, and came before me. Only then did I realize he was a head taller than me. Maybe because of the roles we once had. I had never noticed the difference in our height. He said, "The shop's revenue." I said, "I mean, how much would my salary be?" He looked into my eyes and repeated, word by word, "The shop's revenue." I was completely dazed. Then he pulled down the shop shutter. I stammered, "I just thought that if I waited until you got rich in 2 years, would I not look terribly materialistic? Do not get the wrong idea. It is not like I care that much about you. I was only thinking about my reputation." He suddenly cupped my face. I looked into his serious eyes. What is he doing? Is he going to kiss me? I grew nervous at once, but he only raised his hand and applied the lip balm to my lips. "Your lips are chapped," he said. The atmosphere turned awkward. Neither of us knew what to say. Finally, I said softly, "That Chanel scarf was a high-quality fake." But when he heard that, he said, "Silly girl." He suddenly reached out and took my hand. I quickly pulled away. "No." His hand hung in midair, and he did not know what to do. I stammered, "You can hold my hand after I have officially left my job." He nodded. "Okay. After 11 years, a few more days will not matter." I said, "I need you to promise me one more thing." He asked, "What is it?" I said, "I do not want you making a hasty decision because of me. From now on, you cannot stay open at night. I will tutor you. You have to take the college entrance exam at least once. If you skip it because of me, I will regret it for the rest of my life." He hesitated for a moment, then smiled. "Okay." I thought my parents would probably scold me when I got home that night. From then on, I helped him at the shop during the day and tutored him at night. Every so often, my mom would give me an earful. She had never scolded her daughter before, although he and I ran the shop well. To save money, we held our wedding and his Zhejiang University admission celebration on the same day. In the hotel's dressing room, I wore a wedding dress while he wore a suit. I reminded him, "Once you get to college, study management seriously. Our shop has already gained some recognition. When you finish school, we'll be counting on you to turn it into a chain." He nodded. Then I added, "My mom does not scold me anymore. She says you have a bright future. She tells everyone her son-in-law got into Zhejiang University." He nodded again. I could not help asking, "Why do you keep saying yes? What are you thinking about?" He said, "I want to call you my wife." I said helplessly, "Go ahead, call me that. I am already your wife."